Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wrestling with the Paranormal. And it's me, your host, the Enlightened One, and we have Craig the Gray. And today we are going to be talking about curses and superstitions.
Absolutely. How are you doing today, Aaron?
I am doing well. Um, yeah, we had a really good podcast. Went this morning, so I guess it's a double podcast day for Effin Wrestling. We interviewed the WOD, which stands for Weapon of Mass Destruction. So if you're watching this and you love wrestling, check out our interview with her on our podcast. Just another Effin podcast, and you can look that up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. And as we see here, we got the Effin Wrestling T-shirt.
Very
We
nice.
got a couple more designs coming up. We have the big sale on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Awesome. So you got how many different designs are there now?
We got two different designs, but we have one with a variant of color. But we want to come up with a couple more designs for the 4th of July. July 1st to July 5th, there's a sale of 20% off at Pro Wrestling Tees. So we want to come up with a few more designs for that big sale.
Sweet.
Yeah, and we even have an idea actually for our shirt for Paranormal. Do you remember the scramble boxes?
Scramble boxes.
You can see the pay-per-views and
the
scramble channels.
Yeah.
So I think we're talking about maybe a sort of a scrambled sort of thing with a logo. We got some crazy ideas.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, something to look forward to. And then you'll leave a link in the below the video here how you can get that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So today, so we're gonna maybe talk about curses straight up. So
You want to start with curses?
What do you got for us?
You got any wrestling? Did you find a
I
wrestling
don't.
story?
I'm running out, man. I'm running low.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about superstitions later. I'm sure there's some superstitious wrestlers because most sports people have some kind of superstition. But
yeah.
All right, let's just explain for the people what a curse is. So definitely paranormal. Somebody can curse somebody else either using magical powers or they, maybe from some kind of voodoo or something, and then that person will experience extreme bad luck or something bad will happen to them. They might get into an accident, right? A very famous kind of curse, I think this fits under a curse, is a voodoo doll, which is, somebody would be using magic and they'd be making a doll in the likeness of the person they don't like or they hate or they want to curse. And then they would do things to the doll and then those things would happen to the person. Pretty extreme.
That reminds me, I made Kelly Rudy, the hockey. Do you know who Kelly Rudy is?
Hockey player?
Yeah, he's a goalie. He was goalie for the Los Angeles Kings.
Right. Now I remember. Yeah.
And so the Canucks were playing the Kings in the playoffs.
God.
And in art class, I made a Kelly Rudy voodoo doll in art class, and I had like axes and shit in them. And I was hoping that it would help the Canucks to victory. And I regret doing that because I don't think it was very nice. But I'm a stupid teenager. What do I know?
Well, sports can sometimes make us get a little bit fanatic, right?
Yeah,
that's why they call a fan a fan.
It was fun, but
fanatic.
I hope he didn't have any problems as a result of my Kelly Rudy voodoo doll.
So Kelly Rudy, if you're having any chronic pain or anything like that, you know who to blame.
I will tell you what, Kelly Rudy, if you are watching this video, I will send you a free blessing to reverse the curse.
Excellent. As you should.
But he's got lots of money, so he's got to be blessed, right?
There are some things that money just can't buy, though, here. All right. We're talking about the paranormal and, blessings and curses.
like this championship belt.
You bought that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did buy it.
Yeah.
I didn't win it.
So what do you got on curses? You got any more examples?
Okay, so here's the deal. I've been watching a lot of cursed places on National Geographic, and we're talking about Vlad the Impaler. Now, his real name is Vlad Dracul. And Vlad Dracul is the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, when you get named the Impaler, you're one evil dude. Like he impaled thousands and thousands of thousands of people, just murdered and massacred thousands of people, and I guess he was eventually taken over, and I guess they were killing him, and whilst they were killing him, he put a curse on the land, and after he was dead, and it's a big frame. They actually framed the curse, so you can see what he said. And weird stuff started happening. Like there was something similar to a black plague that happened in their country, but the thing is, it stayed in their city. It didn't spread anywhere else. It was almost like it was the law of that curse kind of kept it there. So that was something interesting I found about Vlad the Impaler.
Is this Transylvania? Is this where the land he used curses? Right. You know what's really interesting is that, like, there's a type of tourism where people actually want to go somewhere that's cursed, right? It has a certain attraction. I think it's called dark tourism.
Yeah.
So you want to go to like Chernobyl or Transylvania or like these places, dark places, right? So hopefully, the townspeople, local people can make some money off of it. They got his curse framed and everything. That's
so.
Something.
What do you think about the plague that didn't leave the town?
It is interesting. I
think
usually,
like we're in COVID right now, just kind of at the end of it, near the end,
but
and it spread all over the world.
But this one just kept cycling and staying there and not moving
stayed
through.
In the town, and pretty much killed mostly everyone.
Now I've heard there's other cases of this, of people cursing somebody when they're dying, and I think that when you're close to death, you have more power because you're close to the other side, and you can kind of bring some of that power into your curse, right? So that's what makes a curse that somebody says when they're dying or about to die, especially if you're also too, like the fact that people were killing him, then that gives him the power to curse them in their land. It's almost like,
well, there's a couple things to that we could discuss to wrestle with.
Wrestle with it.
Okay, so it's kind of like that poem, Rage Against the Dying of the Light. You know that poem? It's your last gasp of everything you have is coming out in that curse. So any energy that you have, you're not spending it on, combing your hair, sleeping, doing the lawn, doing your laundry. It's all spent on that curse, all your energy. So there's something to that, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. I also think,
very focused energy.
And so this isn't on the negative side. Like that's pretty dark to use that power to curse somebody. But if you think about it, people also think of people's last words as being very important. Like what does somebody say? Like a famous person, what were their last words, right? What did they say before they're passed over, right? And that, like, there's a power there where we think of like somebody being at the end of their life, there's some kind of power, because we think about that, right? Like, oh, what was his famous? And we even have the saying, right? Famous last words, right? So yeah, I think there's something to that. I think that that's a powerful place to put a curse, right?
Another one was we were talking a couple shows ago about the Mothman, the Mothman, and he's down there. I forget what city. If you could look it up. So the Mothman is involved in this town, and whenever something bad happens, they blame the Mothman.
Mm.
And people have seen him around. There's this big statue, and so several natural, like just calamity kind of things happen in that town. One was the bridge crashed down, and people say they saw the Mothman just as before the bridge crashed. And some people say he followed them home from work and all that kind of stuff. They say it goes further back than the Mothman, though. It goes back to Chief Cornstalk, and he's a Native American who ended up cursing the land because he was betrayed, and they killed him, and they killed his kids, and they, like they do back in the day with taking over the land. And so Chief Cornstalk cursed him as on his dying sort of bed, last words kind of thing. And they're saying the Mothman is kind of like as a result of that curse.
Like almost like a spirit that was awakened or called
or possibly
forth.
A demon that is in charge of, delivering that curse.
Ironically enough, so that's in West Virginia. The town is called Point Pleasant.
Right. I saw.
Well, in the movie, there's a Richard Gere movie, the Mothman Prophecies, right? And that takes place in that. That's that story. It's like a true story about someone who was tracking down the stories of the Mothman.
Did they talk about Cornstalk at all?
In the movie, I don't think so. I remember seeing that movie. He's more like he's gathering witnesses, like he's talking to different people who had experiences, but then he also starts to have experiences and seeing things happen, right, as he's investigating it. So
here's another thing. So he cursed the town, and so the other thing that's going on in this town is they have coal mining. It's one of their major industries, and a lot of people that got trapped in the mines back in the day, and it became costly to do it that way. So what they did is they just pretty much raped the mountain of all the coal. They do the way they do coal now, right? They just pretty much destroy.
Yeah.
They just destroy everything. They don't have no mines or anything. They just
just take the whole mountain down. Yeah.
So this is leading to extreme pollution and a lot of things bad happening in the town. And so they're also looking at, why did the bridge go down? Was that part of the curse? And they found that it was they took shortcuts to save money. So is it the curse, or is it just greedy people?
We could never know how a curse plays out, right?
And that's what I was going to say.
Because the curse could make people behave in a certain way that then has a kind of like catastrophe, right? Like then leads to an accident or something bad happening, right? So that's the thing with curses, right? It's almost like you can't really, like, if you do the paper trail and get back to the source, it's like, well, that could actually, even if you said, oh, it was incompetence, this person saved money, whatever, right?
I don't know if you're a Futurama fan.
Enlighten me.
The episode where Bender thought he was God and he met the computer god in space, and the computer god says to him, if you do things right, people will question if you did anything at all. And that's kind of
Right.
what we're talking about in this curse.
Yeah.
So, in the Bible, that God gives people over to their sin. So this is kind of like this curse, kind of like, well, you want to be evil people, you're going to reap the benefits of this curse because you
Yeah.
guys have all chosen this sort of thing.
And if like both of the stories, right? Like Vlad the Impaler, I mean, I'm sure, obviously he was also doing bad things himself. But doesn't sound that way for the Point Pleasant person, right? That there is like acts that result in the curse, right? Like people are behaving a certain way. Somebody, like, you wouldn't curse somebody if they were treating you nicely, if they were being a good neighbor, if they were, so yeah, it's kind of is like you reap what you sow. You get what you deserve. Now, what about though? Should we get into the? Do you have another curse story?
Well, we also have the um, the the bayou in New Orleans. We have a hoodoo lady who are practicing medicine or whatever. I forget her name, but Aunt something. I forget. Sorry, I should have wrote this down. But she was a former slave person, and so she was she ended up being sort of a medicine lady to a lot of the people, and they'd come and she'd do a little bit of hoodoo medicine on them, and everyone kind of loved her. But the tree industry started coming in and raping the forests,
Mm-hmm.
and she ended up dying and cursing everyone because it kind of she was left poor, and everyone in the area who lived there didn't reap the benefits of the foresting, and now because of all the everything that went on, this is another case of just like Virginia is because of all the clear cutting and
Mm-hmm.
different things, you're having a devastating thing, and the Hurricane Katrina, if that bayou swamp was left alone, it probably would have saved him
Right.
because
Yeah.
all the
So I'm
water was
looking it up.
diverted.
I'm looking it up now. It's Julia Brown, a voodoo queen, local voodoo queen Julia
Yes,
Brown, but
yes,
also known as Julia White or Julia Black. So various names.
or Auntie
Yeah,
Julie,
voodoo priestess
or Auntie Julie.
or Auntie Julia. And yeah, there was another massive hurricane that hit in 1915 that people said was due to this curse. So weather patterns, right?
And so they believe that the trees. I don't know if they can see. They're almost equivalent to redwoods. The trees that they had there are said to be like powerful and magical because these trees, when they root, they intertwine and they lock their roots together. So if you can't take down one without taking them all down. So
Mm.
no storm can knock down these trees, and cutting down these trees was devastating for the ecosystem of the bayou. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think too, like magic and land are often associated together, right? Like there's a magic in the land, and then if the land gets hurt, then maybe somebody using the magic of the land to like uh, perform some kind of curse. And it's funny because we're talking about this as being like cursed lands, but it's like really it's a perspective thing, right? Because a storm is devastating to human beings, and we think of it as being a really bad thing, you know, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, for the ocean or for the coast or for the land, right? I mean, it'll grow back and everything like that.
Well,
So,
you remember at Hurricane Katrina, you saw everyone on the roofs
mhm.
and all that. Well, the bayou was designed to take the runoff waters,
Right.
but because they messed with so much of it that it screwed everything up and it affected everyone else.
Yeah, there was a natural way for the land to survive a storm, but human beings kind of messed that up.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Now, do we want to talk about the reverse here? What's the opposite of a curse?
The opposite of a curse. I'm glad you asked.
Aren't you glad I asked?
I'm glad you asked.
We got to balance things out here. We can't just
Yeah.
be all gloom and doom all day.
The opposite of a curse is a blessing.
Hmm.
So, the question I ask you, and I don't know what you think, but I think, actually, I won't tell you what I think. I'll let you tell you what you think. The opposite is a blessing. And can you curse someone who is blessed?
Can you curse someone who is blessed? That's an interesting conundrum. See, I mean, do they equal each other out? So if I'm blessed and then you curse me, I just become normal, like I'm not blessed or cursed, because the bless counteracts the curse so that I'm not cursed, right? So then I'm just nothing, right? I'm just neutral. I just don't experience good luck or bad luck.
Luck? We'll get into that in a bit. My opinion,
But I mean, yeah, what I meant by that is that nothing extremely fortunate or extremely unfortunate happens to me. Like I don't have an accident, but
but I do want to get into luck in a bit here.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, as a general thing. Yeah. All right. What's your theory, though? What can you curse a blessed person?
Okay, so cursing is a result of the fall of man in the Bible. Cursing is a very it's a very I guess it's from the devil, the power of a curse, and so the power of a blessing comes from God. So if people don't know, God and the devil are not equal. The devil is this big and God's this big, so that's not a fair fight. So if God is blessing you, I sound like a televangelist. If God is blessing you today, send me your money. But God is blessing you, then the devil can't hurt you because the power that he's put on your life is bigger than anyone can attack, you know? Do you understand?
I suppose, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. So the blessing is a bigger shield than anything that the curse could do. Yeah. But then
so curses are more for people that don't get the protection that they don't know that they need.
Right. So what I was going to say is that you would then need to make sure. Well, I don't know what kind of authenticity you can get on like being blessed directly from God, because what if just someone who blessed you, but they're like a vehicle for God and they're blessing you, but then maybe you don't know how pure they are or how close to God they are. So it's like, I don't know, is your blessing actually genuine? Is there an authenticity?
Well, the thing about a blessing is you will know it. Things around your life will start changing. Things are going to start going on the upswing. And it's the same for curses. Things are starting to get shitty. So you'll know the authentic if you're blessed or not. You'll know if you're cursed or not, because things will get extremely good or things will get extremely bad.
But blessing is it wins out.
Yeah, a blessing will always, and no, any curse. And this is what the enemy, Satan, wants you to. I sound like an evangelist again.
He's getting into it.
And this is what the enemy wants to tell you.
Into it. Our numbers are spiking in the Midwest. This is good. Keep it up.
And this is what the enemy wants to tell you. He wants to tell you that that the curse is not reversible, but that's a lie. Because A blessing can destroy any curse.
Well, and that is, that is worth discussing. It could bring us into maybe potentially talking about luck here, but are these permanent states? Could a cursed land be uncursed? Is someone who's blessed, are they blessed forever, or could they mess that up? Like, there are things that can change, right?
Well, let's talk about let's talk about the West Virginia. All of a sudden, they stop doing all that mining. They stop being greedy. They start doing things the right way. Well, obviously, their land's going to start cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
And, they don't be so cheap on the bridges, right?
If you clean up the corruption, yeah. Obviously, I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
So it's going to start fixing things, right? Like, sorry to sound like an old Southern preacher again, but repentance means turning the other way and going the opposite way that you were going.
Yeah. I think too, like, to not be so extreme about it, but like, if you keep up, your good habits of like doing things in your life that help you, if you just keep in contact with that, like, for instance, I meditate every day, right? I meditate every day. I feel like if I didn't meditate in the morning, and I meditate and then I do prayers, if I didn't do that, then I would have an off day. You know what I mean? So it's like I have to keep that contact with my kind of serenity and my kind of positive energy, and then that, so like, even being like, so I think like even a state of like being blessed, it's kind of like an extreme way of thinking about it, of something that like, if you just do the right things in your life should go in general, it should go in a pretty positive direction. Right
now, we could get into sins of the father, where that they were talking a lot about the curse is in your DNA.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So it's
like
actually scientifically, the curse is actually in your DNA.
So it'd be hereditary, is what you're saying, like passed on genetically.
And that's also biblical as well. Not scientifically, but they talk about the sins of the father coming onto the child, and he kind of repeats the circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even like, I know a little bit about Buddhism. Even Buddhism and the idea of being reincarnated, you do like carry things with you through your different reincarnations, and like, things in your past life can affect your current life, right? Things even like way back in past lives, and you actually need to do some work to work through some suffering that you experience like way in the past, right? Almost like trauma, right? Like, you have to deal with something that was way in the past, and it actually can carry through different iterations of.
So I'm glad you brought up another sort of religion, so I don't take over this broadcast down there in the South.
We try to be open-minded, wrestling with paranormal, right? Wrestling with different new concepts, different ideas,
And just giving a shout out to Brother Love. I love you. Do you remember Brother Love?
You recently had an episode on managers I watched there.
Yeah, Brother Love didn't make the cut. He was more of a talk show guy. He was Undertaker's manager for a bit, but they quickly brought in Paul Bearer. Right.
Yeah, I remember he had his little show, the Brother Love show.
I love you. I love saying that. His big red face. So kind of making a segue here to talk about luck and superstitions.
Mm-hmm.
As in sports, especially hockey goalies, they are really kind of the whack jobs. They do all sorts of things, like they have to wear the same shirt every game. Speaking of Kelly Broody, he had this bandana. He had to wear the same bandana every game. And I remember I had this poster of Kirk McLean, and it said something on his skate, I noticed. And I looked a little bit closer, and it said weird. I was like, what? He wrote weird on his skate, and I was like, that's weird. So they're the sports people are a superstitious bunch.
I just looked up, since this is also a bit of a wrestling show. Okay, so I looked up superstitious wrestlers. We've got John Cena here. Apparently, um, he may be one of the most superstitious wrestlers in history. He's been known to do many and strange, impressive things before a big performance, such as eating several boxes of Tic Tacs. Wow, that's something. Also, knocking on wood. I mean, that's a pretty common one.
Well, it's
But
not a
yeah,
lot of calories, so he can do it.
eating Tic Tacs, though, right? And here's the thing with sports superstitions
He's
is
gonna have good breath.
it's the idea, though, that if you did something once and it worked, that you have to keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, every time John Cena wrestles, he's going to have to eat a box of Tic Tacs. Like, that's the idea that, like, you know, you hear about goalies or people wearing the same socks.
Hold on a second here. I think we tapped into something. So if you don't do this, you're kind of cursing yourself.
It's curse.
Yeah, you're cursed into continually eating the Tic Tacs. Because if you don't eat those Tic Tacs, you're pretty much opening up yourself to something bad happening.
Yeah.
So
it's like they create a kind of shield of like good luck that as long as I keep doing this behavior, this thing, whatever it is, right? Eating Tic Tacs, wearing the same socks, you know.
Do you have any other wrestling examples?
Well, we've got Goldberg here. Let's see. I mean, this might just be him getting pumped, but people say that Goldberg had a pre-match ritual where he would headbutt lockers, headbutt doors, or just headbutt anything that he's deemed suitable. Now, that could just be to get his adrenaline going.
And yeah, he would come out sometimes before the match even started. He's bleeding right down the.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you know, headbutting things, but who knows? I mean, maybe it was a superstition. Maybe he thought he had to headbutt things.
Well, yeah, he started it, and now he can't stop.
And you just keep going, right? A lot of wrestlers, you notice, they'll come in and they almost do a similar thing when they run into the ring, right? So, well, they say here that Booker T used to actually meditate before a match. Huh.
Well, I don't know if that's superstition, like, you know.
Yeah, it's just focusing your mind.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's
yeah.
good. I think that's a healthier way to kind of you know, calm yourself and, you know, get ready for it. Because, you know, when I used to preach, I would be so nervous, and I would just be like, I would just be sweating, and until I finally got out there and everything was fine. But up to that moment, I was so nervous.
So you didn't do anything. You didn't have a pre-game ritual.
Well, just kind of like Booker T, I would pray and I'd be really extreme. Like I'd say something like this. I'd be like, "God, I'm not doing it if you're not coming with me. If I won't go out there, you know." You know.
Well, actually, I have a morning routine that I do like every day the same. So like I meditate, I do the same kind of breathing technique, and then the same kind of mantras and prayers in my head, right? And and then I do a gratitude list, and it does feel very routine to me, and it does kind of build up in my mind that like if I do this, I'll have a better day than if I didn't do this, right? So it's a bit of a ritual. It's a bit of a pre-game ritual.
So people have rabbit feet. What else?
Yeah, let's get into this. Let's get into this. So for superstitions, I made just a column of bad luck and good luck because there's a bunch of good luck ones and there's a bunch of bad luck ones.
Frosted Lucky Charms, the magically delicious.
Right, every shape in a Lucky Charms. The marshmallows are some kind of cultural good luck charm, right? Rainbows were considered good luck.
Rainbows? I remember when they came out.
Rainbows was a special one because they didn't have the technology to do multicolored ones early in the Lucky Charms history. But then when they had the multicolored, they even had
the campaign. It was during the Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh man, it's huge! Oh, rainbows, and also
Mom, I need these.
The cauldron too. The Lucky Charm cauldron was orange and gold. It was two colors.
I don't remember the cauldron.
Okay, it was a cauldron of gold coins, I guess. So yeah, a lot of things in the Lucky Charms. So a horseshoe is lucky apparently. A rainbow, seeing a rainbow is lucky. Gold coins and coins, people consider coins to be lucky. People will rub coins. Is supposed to be will help them and give them good luck. Rabbit's foot. I don't know if rabbit's foot's in Lucky Charms or not.
No.
No, that'd be kind of gross if you had a real rabbit's foot. Now, do you use? Do you have any Lucky Charms or anything? Do you use anything for luck?
No, but I don't actually believe in luck.
Wow. What are you doing on this show? Just kidding.
I don't believe in luck. My opinion on the matter is there's no source, because luck would be a power, right? There's no source of power except from God himself that he kind of has authority over. So good luck would be just this random power just floating around the air, and it doesn't have any source, right?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously so I have, you can see for viewers who are watching from home, if I can get this right, if you look above my head here, this is actually it's an Asian from Taiwan. It's Chinese coins, so like ancient coins, and that's actually supposed to be good luck. So that's why I have that.
Yeah, I see those hanging off of some cars sometimes in the window.
Yeah, they're good luck charms. So you know, I was in Taiwan for a year. You know, I kind of soaked up some of the ideas, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I like the idea of it. I also, like, my whole life I always wear a bracelet. I've had a bracelet, different bracelets, obviously, because they break.
We were in Thailand on a missions trip with our college, and you know, because we're from Canada, we're in Cambodia. That was part of the trip. So those Cambodian kids come up to us because we look like rock stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "You buy bracelet, or your mother is gonna die." I was like, listen, I will buy your bracelet, but don't say stuff like that. That is horrible. Like, but you know, I guess I probably shouldn't have bought it because he's probably going to reinforce what he's saying.
Well, so lucky bracelet is a kind of cultural thing. You can even just look up lucky bracelets, and you know, people are selling them. There's a feng shui idea that wearing a bracelet is lucky. There's this, I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's a culture, Pishu, Pixiu. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they actually have an interesting concept that if you wear a bracelet on the left wrist, it's good luck for you, and it should attract good wealth and good luck. But if you wear it on the right wrist, which is funny because that's just what I instinctively do, you're actually giving your luck and your wealth to other people. So it's like being.
I will take that. Thank you.
And I've always just instinctively worn a bracelet. When I was a teenager, I had a watch. I think even when I was a little kid, I had a watch, and I always liked having a little watch on. And then after I got a cell phone, I didn't need a watch anymore. I went and bought bracelets. So I was so used to it, you know. But I do think, you know, part of it's just habit, and I'm used to having a bracelet. But part of me, I think because if I don't put it on, or if I forget it in the morning, if I like go out and I don't have my bracelet on, I do feel weird and I kind of feel off. So I think there is an association in my mind that like it's a bit of a protective charm. So
and then we got the Catholic Church, who kind of do this meshing of luck and blessing.
Historically, or like even right now? Do you mean?
Yeah, even right now, you got the charmed, you know, you got the Mary necklaces, or Joseph, not the rosary, but you know, you get the Saint Joseph or whatever, and they're supposed to protect you.
Yeah,
by wearing this thing.
Saints of protection. You can also put that on your car dashboard and stuff.
Yeah, so
yeah.
It's you know, they're kind of meshing luck and blessing, if you ask me.
Well,
because you shouldn't need that physical object.
Well, this gets
to
into
receive the blessing.
Yeah, it gets into a whole. It could be a whole debate as to whether the saints are actually have in some ways been portrayed as like false idols, because it's like, you know, that's not some kind of symbol of God. That's like a saint, which is like a different, right? And they're kind of becoming idolized. Like if you have a picture of a saint, right, and it brings you good luck, and if you pray to that and you give that a certain amount of power, it's like, isn't that like a different idol than right?
Yeah,
It's weird.
a lot of the Filipino culture, they're big on having pictures of Jesus in the doorway because
Mhm.
that's going to stop any negative stuff coming in. So it's a fine line between you know uh, blessing and luck. Really, if you start getting into that, right? There's a fine line between that. Uh,
Yeah.
if you need this object to be blessed, I'm pretty much saying it's the same as a rabbit's foot.
That's a very blurry line. I mean, I I've known of people to keep holy water in their fridge, right, for emergencies. Maybe that's something different. I don't know, but that's a thing.
Well, the act of the holy water. Well, the holy water has been prayed over,
Yeah.
and so I don't know the act of sprinkling it.
Well, and that's like I know people they keep holy water and then they'll say for emergencies, and then in an emergency they might need to sprinkle it somewhere or put it as a cross on their forehead. Use it to
So
bless themselves.
if you're on a really hot day and there's nothing else to drink, and you drink the holy water,
Oh boy.
are you gonna get superpowers?
Oh no.
And when you go pee, is it gonna be like magical?
Whoa. Whoa. You're gonna get us canceled here. Watch out. We gotta be careful. Okay, changing the subject. Going to superstitions, right? So I looked up knocking on wood because I think this is one of the most pervasive superstitions that people do. I've seen people doing it on podcasts. I've seen people who even claim to be atheists
Like
and
knocking on wood.
they knock on wood. I've seen
Yeah.
like
You
I
said
remember
knock on wood,
watching,
you're saying a superstition.
if even just saying it, right? Yeah, it's saying, oh, knock on wood. Like when you say like, oh, like, hopefully knock on wood, I'll be able to do this. It's like, well, that's a superstition, right? I remember watching and I thought it was really interesting. It was one of the atheists, like one of these guys who are really atheists, and they were talking on a podcast and they said knock on wood. And I was like, this person's talking all about how they don't believe in spirits and all this other stuff, but they just did they acted out a superstition. So I looked up where knock on wood comes from. And it dates back to ancient pagan traditions of thinking that there was spirits in the trees, and when they wanted good luck or when they wanted something to work out for them, they would actually physically go and knock on a tree because you're asking for the wood spirits to help you with whatever it is that you're doing, right? Now, what's amazing to think is that has carried forward to our culture where people still do this, right? People will find a piece of wood and knock on the table or even just say it, right? Just say knock on wood.
Yeah, it's amazing how long this tradition of superstition has carried on. Oh man.
Yeah, so I watched a video about how this could be, like how they explained it. And here's the thing. If your parents teach you this, so when you're young, you're very impressionable. Your mind is being shaped.
Well, it's not even taught. It's just passed on because they say it. Now you say it.
Right. They're not. Yeah, like taught is the wrong word because they're not like, oh, today we're going to have the superstition lesson. It's not like they sit you down, right? It's not like a lesson.
Superstition class again.
It's not the same as the talk about sex, right? You're right. It's they actually, because they do it, and when you're a kid, you see whatever your parents or the people around you do, and then you start to just do it.
Maybe your parents don't even do it, but some people at school or the teacher, whatever, right?
You pick Could be anybody, okay. Yeah. And then as you grow up and you come up with your own ideas, even if you become a very logical person and you don't believe in tree spirits and you don't believe that there's any kind of spirits in the wood that are going to help you, here's the thing. If doing the superstition is easier than resisting your kind of conditioning, because you're conditioned to do it now, like you're so used to saying it or doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like your logical mind would have to resist doing it because it's such a habit, right? So it just comes down to human nature. Like if it's easier to just knock on wood or say knock on wood than it is to resist your childhood, habits that were formed when you were a child. So clearly it's just easier to just do the thing because it's not very difficult to knock on a piece of wood or to say knock on wood, right? Whereas more elaborate rituals and superstitions
might change it to like knock on plastic because that's more available now. Knock on plastic.
Knock on plastic. I don't know. Could you imagine if there was spirits and gods that now started inhabiting plastic? That'd be I mean, it would make sense if you're a spirit and you're looking for somewhere to live. You know, you got more. There's more places to live in plastic.
Oh yeah, you can be all over the place.
You could be in the ocean, everywhere. Apparently, you're everywhere now. Okay, so
Plastic
there's that
bag.
one. By the way, do you ever knock on wood?
Not really, but I kind of hear it a lot still.
Yeah, I've never really took that on that much. I don't think my parents were into that. Okay, so we got another one. Friday the 13th. This is a big one. Or just 13 in general. Because also in North America, most buildings don't have a 13th floor.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Isn't that insane? Now, do you know the history of of 13 being unlucky?
No, tell me.
I looked it up. This is going to blow your mind, okay? You might not even agree with it, but this is what I found. This is the historical thing. So, because at the Last Supper, there was 13 people, right? The 12 disciples plus Jesus, and that was the Last Supper, and then Jesus died. That number started becoming considered bad luck. And the first
Because
ritual...
Jesus died.
Because he died right after. Now the first, and Judas, you know, he betrayed him, all that.
So then they're down to 11.
So here's the thing: the first actual superstition, it wasn't to do with floors on buildings. You know, buildings weren't that high yet. It wasn't to do with the day Friday the 13th. But the first thing was you weren't supposed to have 13 people at a dinner table. That was bad luck. You should. Right. And my grandmother actually respected that. I remember, or maybe it was either my grandmother or one of my friend's grandmothers, but I remember going.
I've never heard about this in my life.
I remember going to a Christmas dinner, and it turned out that there was 13 people going to be at the table, and they actually moved 5 people to a different table because it was bad luck to have 13 people. So it was like 6 and 5 instead of, or 6 and 7 instead. Isn't that crazy?
That is chaotic.
But yeah, it must have translated into people thinking about 13th floors. Like, this is
your grandma who respected this rule.
It was either my grandmother or my friend's grandmother. I can't remember, but I remember a family gathering where they were worried about this, right? And so this is interesting to think about, that this had carried forward to the time when we start building skyscrapers, and the engineers are like, oh, we can't have 13th floor, right? I actually read up a little bit about it, and when they were building skyscrapers, they started apartment buildings, right? But nobody would rent on the 13th floor because they thought it was bad luck. So what they actually started doing, because nobody would rent the space, everybody would like, oh, I'll take the 12th floor, the 14th, or any other floor, right? So then they started just renaming the floors to be 12, like 11, 12, 14, so that they could actually sell all of the rental space.
Okay, so if you're on the 14th floor, you're really on the 13th floor.
Absolutely.
So
you heard it here first.
Are you still receiving the curse of the 13th floor, or just because they renamed it, it doesn't count?
Right? That's the thing. And then Friday the 13th, people think is unlucky day. People get worried.
Did you look up that?
Well, it's the same thing. It's just based on 13. People find, once you get paranoid about a number, people just look for the number anywhere, and then they just start making it seem like bad
Friday
luck.
the 13th doesn't come very many times a year, does it?
No, it's it's just as rare as any other Friday, but it doesn't happen that often. So, and then there's another belief that if it's Friday the 13th in October, because October is already a spooky month, that's even the most unlucky day, is apparently Friday the 13th in October.
You know, the one I really hate is the black cats. Because like they it's just an animal, and he's getting treated really badly just because he's a black cat. And there's nothing unlucky about him. He's a cute little adorable creature, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I like cats too, and I think all cats are equally cute and awesome. So yeah, and that's a weird one. That one specifically, it's if it walks in front of you, it's bad luck, right? There's another one that you can't step on cracks on the sidewalk. That seems, it's really funny how
that when I was a kid.
Yeah,
you step on a crack, you break your mother's back.
It was a rhyme. Yeah, exactly. There was another one, breaking a mirror inside, or breaking a mirror in general, right?
Yeah, these are really popular. And the umbrella inside.
Don't open an umbrella inside. Breaking a mirror, I looked it up, and people used to think, like in ancient times, that a mirror actually held the soul of the person looking into it, so that if you broke it, it would break your soul. It was like breaking your soul.
My soul is broken. I've dated some girls that I felt that way after I broke up with them.
Wow.
My soul is broken.
Also, sometimes people will say you have bad luck for 7 years. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So, like, if you break a mirror, you have bad luck for 7 years, or if you walk under a ladder, you have bad luck for 7 years. The 7 years actually comes from Roman times, when in ancient Rome they had a belief that life refreshed every 7 years, and they used to even
Wouldn't
do.
that be, whoa! Wouldn't that be cool if that was true? You're
Well,
like,
they used to
I
even
haven't
have a
kind of got
practice.
left on this. Come on, 2 more years. I need it.
So your luck could completely change. Like if you're having bad luck, it'll only last 7 years because then you have a new run at it, right? Well, they used to even have a practice of
but if you're on like a good streak,
only 7 years. Same thing.
You're like all of a sudden things are going down for you. It's like
They even had a practice of like wiping debts after 7 years, right? The Jubilee, it was called.
Yeah, the year of Jubilee.
Yeah, it was either 7 years or 50 years.
And your debts would be forgiven.
Now that would.
Oh, you said. Oh, I thought you said deaths.
No, debts. That's what I meant.
I was like, how are they bringing these people back to life?
We still have that in the law, though. You can debts do get forgiven. Certain debts do get forgiven after 7 years. It's kind of funny that we kept that. Okay, so just quickly, is there any others? I mean, I got a few from different cultures because what's interesting is that these are cultural, right? So, like a different,
like they're pretty much those are curses, right? Breaking a mirror, you're cursing yourself if you believe it.
Yeah.
So, let me just say this: part of how curses work is when you believe them, you give them power.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's how my ideas of good luck charms for myself. Like I said, like if I forget my bracelet at home and I'm thinking I'm going to have a bad day, it's me thinking it, on my own, right? Same with sports superstitions. I think it's just the sports players do it to themselves, right? It's a psychological thing. But the question is, can you override that psychological effect, right? Can you, through logic, tell yourself that, like, no, I'm going to be fine?
Well, so there's this movie, what was it? Called The Man with Eugene Levy and Samuel Jackson. And
never seen it.
Samuel Jackson's character had a problem with swearing. And he kept on saying, fucking this, fucking that. And Eugene Levy says, whoa, watch the language there, big guy. And he's like, listen, I'm going to help you to stop swearing. So every time that you say fuck, say crying out loud afterwards. For crying out loud. And, you can kind of control that. And when I was a kid, my youth pastor taught me, instead of saying shit, to say sick. Oh, that's sick. So there's ways around it. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything you can kind of replace it with something else, right?
A mental trick, yeah.
And I think even for like knock on, what was that? Knock on wood. What was the one we were talking about? Where if I'm allowed to do it, was that knock on wood? Yeah.
You're thinking of changing it to knock on plastic?
Well, Christians, they say if God willing.
Oh, God willing, yeah.
God willing, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So is that superstitious or not?
No, I don't think so. That doesn't sound superstitious.
It seems like your heart's in the right place with that, right?
Yeah, and you're admitting that you don't know. You're admitting that, this isn't for me to say if this is going to work out or not. Letting go of the results, And I think that is a mature way to be.
God's will, right?
Yeah, it's called humility, right? It's having the humility to realize that, like, I can't guarantee that this is going to go the way I want it to go,
Yeah.
Okay, last one. I think this is weird. I don't know if you experienced this. This might have just been my childhood or the school I was in, but lying is bad, right? You're not supposed to lie. But if you crossed your fingers, like this behind your back, if you crossed your fingers behind your back, you were allowed to lie, and it would like protect you. Did you know that?
I totally forgot about this.
That's such a weird one.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I'm not lying.
Right? And I remember we would even say that, like if somebody said like, you were lying when you told me that, I'd be like, but I crossed my fingers behind my back. And then they'd be like,
Oh, you got me. You got
you
me.
got
Tom.
me. Yeah, it was okay.
It's so ridiculous.
Kids rules, man. Kids rules are awesome. So that
I
wasn't
don't
just
even
me.
know
That
where
must
we
be a
picked-
cultural thing.
I don't even know where we picked that thing up with the crossing of the fingers.
Well, that's the thing about cultural transference, like things transferring through culture, through schools, man. Schools, like, do you remember, like,
Really quickly, can you find out where that came from?
people might not even know, but do you remember, like, you could learn songs at school? We would learn like Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin laid an egg, right?
Yeah, or liar, liar, pants on fire.
Right? Those were like
You
school.
get set of guys, kids. You get set of kids' pants on fire.
But it wasn't like that song was on the radio, right? We just
No.
like picked that up
Yeah.
through school. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Crossing fingers. Some people say that it's asking God's protection because you're making a cross.
Oh, God bless you.
But yeah,
sound right.
it's not for sure where it came from.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds right because the God's like, oh, yeah, you can lie. You're making a cross.
Doesn't sound right. Yeah.
Yeah, pass on that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting one though. What a weird thing, eh? Well, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we covered it all. Yeah, I think that it was a good show. I'm glad that you guys can all learn about our thoughts on curses and blessing. Sorry if I sounded too much like a silent preacher. Hopefully, our friend Craig the Gray kind of evened it out. And,
There is one more. There is one more bad luck though. If you watch a video and you don't like and subscribe, that's actually bad luck. Did you know that? That's bad.
And if you share it, you will be blessed.
Yes, if you share this video, we guarantee you will be blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Am I crossing my fingers behind my back though? Who knows?
So until then,
Keep on wrestling with the